Well, welcome everyone to this program showcase event. My name is Ali Davis. I'm a co-founder of Mediator Academy, and I'll be facilitating this session. The purpose of this session is to give you all an insight into the new online LLM in mediation and international commercial dispute resolution with Newcastle University. And we have the program director, Professor Bryan joining us. You'll be hearing from Bryan in a moment. The program designer, Sabina Walsh, who is my colleague at Mediator Academy and co-founder. And hopefully by the end of this session, you will have a much clearer understanding of what you'll be learning, how you'll be learning, and most importantly, the main benefits of studying not just this subject, not just studying with Newcastle University, but also studying online as well. So just to cue you all in to this session, I thought I'd begin with the promotional video that was put together as a way of giving people a snapshot into the program. So you might want to turn your volume up or down, and I will share my screen and play it. It's about 3 minutes long.
Choosing to do an LLM is a big decision. There's a lot to think about.
Which subject to choose?
Then there's the university.
And fees and scholarships.
Let's start with the subject.
Dispute resolution, in particular mediation, has increased dramatically.
Meet Bryan, Professor of Law at Newcastle University and Programme Director of the new online LLM.
This increase has created a gateway to international employment. Yes, we know there are lots of roles in legal practice, but we're seeing lots of new opportunities, including dispute resolution analysts, customer dispute handlers, legal regulatory change managers, forensic dispute associates.
So you can study remotely and work remotely?
I've been involved in over 80 consumer financial disputes, all in mediation. I do it online from my home in Warsaw.
Dispute systems designer, in-house counsel, and of course, research in academia.
Next, which university?
We've been teaching law here for almost a century, and we're a founding member of the Russell Group of universities.
This is Professor Tom Ward, Pro Vice-Chancellor for Education at Newcastle University.
Our university is ranked in the top 150 in the QS World Rankings.
Thank you, Professor Ward.
And we're also ranked as one of the best in the world for employer engagement.
Yes, thank you, Professor. That's great.
Oh, remember to tell them about the scholarships.
Oh yes, fees and scholarships next.
Funding my LLM was really hard. I wouldn't have been able to do it without a scholarship.
This is Ali Davies, CEO of Mediator Academy.
We are over the moon that we can offer scholarships for this program and a flat fee. That means that international and domestic students pay the same.
Studying online brings many advantages.
This is Sabina Walsh, Head of Learning at Mediator Academy.
We had a vision of students from around the world studying together online in an engaging and immersive way. You'll have an exceptional learning experience, graduate from a top-class university, and make connections for life.
This program has totally changed the student experience of learning online.
You will learn from experienced practitioners and leading thinkers in the field.
There's a magic in how this program has been designed that builds a close-knit community of students.
The friends you make on your LLM are friends for life. Right, Shubham?
Right, Yomna.
So if you want to do an LLM with great career options,
Flexible study,
Scholarship opportunities.
And a degree from a top university. Right, Professor Ward?
Then download the prospectus or contact me directly to find out more. I'm very good at responding.
he is.
He is.
He is.
He is.
So that is the promotional video. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit of an insight into what's coming up in this session. I'm going to hand you over right away now to Sabina Walsh. Sabina's going to tell you a little bit more about the program and really, why study this subject.
So you'll have seen from the video that mediation and dispute resolution in general are really on an upward curve at the moment, and that is both in terms of the place that mediation plays within the legal system and the dispute resolution frameworks, both nationally and internationally, and as a career opportunity, as a pathway into a range of different careers. This is driven by a few different things. We have the sort of explosion, if you like, of new mediation regulation at an international level and a national level. We have the Singapore Convention, which you may have heard of. We have new regulation in a number of European states, and internationally, Singapore has a Mediation Act, Georgia, India is contemplating a Mediation Act. And we have had a number of sort of other drivers that have really now put mediation at the center of legal practice. We have the Master of the Rolls, Sir Geoffrey Voss, recently suggesting that actually the alternative in alternative dispute resolution should really be dropped, and we should just be talking about dispute resolution and incorporating in that litigation, mediation, arbitration, and all the other processes. So really, it is a very exciting time to be involved in this area and to be studying this area. And from a pragmatic point of view, this is a great field to study because the range of different opportunities for work in this area is enormous. Obviously, we've all kind of heard of the professions within mediation and ADR, such as, the practice of a mediator, conciliator, arbitrator in the arbitration field. But for legal counsel, be it solicitors, barristers, and particularly in-house counsel, mediation is a mainstay of your day-to-day work now and an area of specialization. If you've been engaging with law firms recently in terms of traineeships, you'll see that all the bigger law firms now have dispute resolution departments and that are looking for people with the skills and knowledge in this area. And of course, the other thing that's very attractive about this space is that it combines, it's a sort of an interdisciplinary subject, so it combines theory from a number of different disciplines: law, obviously, conflict studies, psychology, economics, business, with very practical skills. So you're looking at, a big growing body of law in this area and theory, and very practical skills that will help you out whether you're in the practice of mediation itself or a lawyer, advisor, or other professional working within the area. So, for people like us who've been hanging around this space for a while, I think it's never been as exciting a time as it is at the moment. There are so many developments happening. It's kind of becoming a little bit difficult to keep up with it all. So we're just thrilled to be able to offer this program to the sort of the dispute resolvers of the future, if you like. So I'll pass you on for now to the program leader and director, Professor Bryan Clark, who will be the main man on this program, who's going to tell you a little bit more concrete detail what the program will look like.
Well, thank you very much, Sabine, for that little introduction. It's great to see you here, those of you that have an interest in the course. And I'm a professor here. I've been involved in the field for some 25 years, actually, as an academic, educator, a trainer, a researcher. I've also been involved quite heavily professionally as well with different bodies and different jurisdictions, such as the Civil Mediation Council here in England, Scottish Mediation, the Arab Mediation Centre, bodies in India such as Mediate Guru. And I've also been involved in helping develop the profession and promote the process in countries such as Hong Kong, across Europe and Chile. So mediation and legal dispute resolution has really been my life, or a big part of my life for the last 25 years. So the program is hosted by Newcastle University. That's a leading Russell Group university, a research-led university based here in England. It's ranked in the top 125 now in the QS rankings in the world. And when I moved to Newcastle a few years ago, I had previously been involved in running similar in-person master's programs at different universities. But in coming to Newcastle, I wanted to do something a bit different. And I think there were some lessons learned through COVID where we ended up, of course, having out of necessity to shift a lot of teaching online. And I also noticed that a lot of business practice, commercial practice, legal dispute resolution was also moving online. And there were aspects of that that were very positive. And I thought, well, actually, this might be a good time to launch an online master's program with it all delivered online, mimicking the changes in education and practice that are taking place anyway. And I think one of the main benefits of this program is its inherent flexibility. You can study for a master's degree in a Russell Group university without leaving your home or your homeland. You can study while juggling your own, your work commitments, your home commitments. So it gives it great flexibility in that sense. The duration of the LLM is 1 year full-time or 2 years part-time. So it is a full-time program in 1 year. And there is, significant effort required of you in that regard. But the flexibility of the approach that we take would allow you to work around your existing work and other life commitments. And there is also the part-time 2 year option for those that want to spend a bit less time each year devoted to the program. The program commences on the 19th of September. That's induction week. So a week of events for all students prior to the course starting properly on the 26th of September. So as the name suggests, the program does have, of course, a primary focus on mediation, but it's set in a context more broadly of commercial dispute resolution, negotiation, and conflict analysis. There are 6 different modules on the program, 3 that you take in semester 1 and 3 that you take in semester 2, along with a dissertation. So in semester 1, you undertake an underpinning class in dispute resolution and conflict studies. And this deals, for example, with the historical origins of mediation as a form of alternative dispute resolution, where mediation fits in the hierarchy of different dispute resolution processes, including negotiation, arbitration, and litigation. And we're looking at the causes of commercial disputes, individual conflict styles, the preferences that we hold for resolving disputes. And we also borrow from neuroscience, looking at the impact on dispute resolution from such matters as errors, biases, fallacies that can blight negotiations in practice. So in many senses, this is a building block course that will inform your study in many classes to come. You also undertake a mediation practice and skills class. And the aim of this class, of course, is to introduce students to a range of issues around the practice of mediation, both from the standpoint of the mediator, but also around the role of lawyers and negotiators in the process. So you'll be learning and hoping to gain key attributes and skills and techniques in mediation practice, as well as how to negotiate and represent clients in the process. And we'll also discuss some aspects in paperwork, including mediation briefs, drafting mediation contracts, and settlements, that kind of thing. And then the final class you do in semester 1 is a legal research class. And every single one of our master's students at Newcastle, doesn't matter the subject, will undertake this same class. And it's really designed to provide you with an understanding of research method from a legal point of view. Now, some of you will be lawyers, some will have no legal background, but no matter what your experience prior to the course, it will allow you to gain a sophisticated understanding of how to research law and, crucially, provide, if you like, a kernel or a core for you to build upon in your dissertation. And part of the assessment here will be putting together a research proposal that you will then go on to develop in your dissertation. I'll say a bit more about that later. This is a bigger piece of academic work you do at the end of the course. And then you also take 3 further modules in semester 2. One is based on mediation law, so looking at the application of law and regulation to mediation, not just in England, but looking at other civil law systems and common law systems, and also international legal instruments, including, for example, the Singapore Convention, of great importance in international commercial mediation. And we'll talk about such issues as the need to standardize and regulate mediators and arguments around that, and looking at the way the law applies to different aspects of the mediation process, including confidentiality, the enforceability of outcomes, mediation clauses and contracts, liability of mediators and lawyers in the process, those kind of issues. And then there's a class on mediation theory, and this class really looks at the theoretical underpinnings of the mediation process, different mediation models, facilitative, evaluative approaches, for example, the role of culture in the process, and the interaction between mediation and justice in its different forms. Also looking at core values in mediation, confidentiality, neutrality, party empowerment. And what we want to do here is really link this class to the practice that you've already learned in the mediation skills class, and you'll still be practicing role plays, hopefully with me, as the semester progresses. And to really think about the connections between theory and practice, creating reflective practitioners. So that's the aim of that class. And then the final class is an online dispute resolution, the role of technology in dispute resolution, online hybrid models of mediation, the benefits and drawbacks of such approaches, what legal and policy issues arise from migrating dispute resolution, conflict management online, looking at the historical development of these processes, but equally, where are they going to go in the future? The increased role of artificial intelligence, really meaty, controversial issues, the increased role of machine blockchain in these processes, for example. And then once those taught elements are completed, you move on to a dissertation, which is a 12,000-word piece of independent study, of legal research, and you would have already, in research methods, worked significantly on putting that proposal together, and you're supervised by me or one of my colleagues in bringing that to an end. So in terms of the way the course is taught, much of the material is delivered on a non-synchronous basis, which means that you as students can work your way through the material at your own pace. And this is through online video-based immersive interactive materials. And Sabine and Aled will show you a demonstration of some of that content in a second. But that material is also supplemented by live online sessions led by either me or one of my colleagues, where we can discuss certain issues in more depth, have critical discussions and debates over important issues in mediation and dispute resolution, or also practice role plays, negotiations, mediations, that kind of thing. And this will allow you to get a chance to meet your peers in the course, interact with them and work together and build up lasting relationships. And the great thing about master's study coming together this way is that you've got students from different legal backgrounds, different levels of experience, and they bring that into the room, and there's a great deal of shared learning goes on, not just from tutor to student, but also between the tutors themselves. And indeed, I'm sure I'll learn a great deal from you as well when we're conducting these classes. So I'm going to discuss assessments, application process, scholarships a bit later, but I'll pass back to Sabine now, who will be showing you an example of some of the online learning materials. So thank you.
So as Bryan was saying, the online learning in this program is a bit different to what you might have encountered from online learning before. And it's designed really by reference to, the most recent research on what really good online learning is and what's going to keep you engaged and active and really involved in your learning. So just as a tiny little snapshot, obviously this is a big program, but we wanted to give you a little bit of a look in under the covers to see what this looks like. So if you'll bear with me while I share my screen, there we go. You should see, and my co-presenters can shout if there's any issues with this. You should see a lesson screen, which is embedded within Canvas, the university's learning management system. And this is what your self-directed lessons will look like. Now, this is obviously a much shortened lesson for demonstration purposes. On average, these lessons should take you around about 1 hour, but you can also undertake them in shorter chunks than that if you want, so you can leave the lesson and come back to it. It's really designed to make sure that you can work around your schedule. So this is one example of just one of the many topics that are covered in this program. And this is some of the latest research on the brain and conflict and how the worlds of neuroscience and conflict and mediation are interlinked. And you'll see you'll be navigating through this lesson by clicking the various buttons. You'll always arrive at a learning outcomes page initially, which will show you what the lesson is intended to address. And I should say that we've built in what we academics talk about as formative assessment into all this, which means you'll have constant opportunities to practice, to test yourselves, to identify any areas that might be tricky. So this is just one example of how we begin. I don't know if you've ever heard of this fella, Phineas Gage, who had a really nasty accident, which sort of led to the initial development of some of the studies on neuroscience. And that is one of the topics of this lesson. You see on the next screen here, you can interact with the objects on the screen. We are at pains to sort of present information in a variety of different ways and in ways that is accessible and manageable in different chunks for you, rather than just throwing a whole lot of long papers at you and sending you off to read them. So you're able to engage with all the objects on the screen. And then, of course, we have the key feature of this program, which is our expert international faculty. I won't play the videos now because we don't have time, but this, for example, when he doesn't have a blue arrow on his face, is Professor Simon Nightingale, who is an expert in the neuroscience of conflict and mediation and how we can learn to work with our brains in conflict situations, and particularly as dispute resolution practitioners. One of the things I should say about the videos are that they are all short and chunked, so there's no big, long, sort of 1 hour videos to work your way through. They are divided into short videos that address the different topics, the different questions, the different crunch points. That also allows us to get a really broad range of views from the different members of faculty on the key issues. You'll see then that, of course, we rely on the most recent academic research as well. So this is an article by Daniel Weitz, who's one of the leaders in this field as well. And you'll see there's a link here that you can download the article. Now, you'll obviously have full access to the Newcastle Library, and the catalogue is all available online. I think it's safe to say at this stage, you hear terrible things about libraries disposing of their physical books now that they've gone totally online, but in this instance, everything is available online. But key articles are also made available to you directly through the lessons. So if you click on that link, and if I scroll in the right direction, you'll see then that the article is available there, and you can also download it and save it for reference. And in our orientation sessions, that will walk you through a whole load of best practices around managing your materials, building your database of information, etc. We carry on through the lesson then. We'll see, just to make sure you're actually paying attention when you read the article, there are a variety of exercises. This is one that I'm not going to attempt to fill out completely now, because I'm just going to make a show of myself. But in essence here, you're dropping different words into the different slots. For example, we tend to view conflict negatively, and this increases the likelihood that we'll use, say, a competitive approach, and our brain development can continue after childhood. Now, if I just go ahead and submit without finishing it, obviously I'm going to be prompted to do it again. If I continue not to finish, or if I make a mess of it, which is always possible, then you'll always be given the right answer afterwards. It's about helping you along the way, showing you where you might have gone wrong, showing you what else might, what other options you might have for filling out the assessments. We then go and look at a different angle and a different expert's view on the same topic. This is a relatively recent publication by a mediator called Tim Hicks, who's very much taken a neuroscience-based approach to mediation. So we'll have a reference to the book, which of course is available in the library. And then we have a video with Tim Hicks himself, where he talks a little bit more about how his theories work in practice. And there's a very strong link between theory and practice in this program. We then have a bit of a summary about what he's talked about. And you can scroll through the different options on the page in order to chunk the information down differently. This is the next level. Again, I don't know, some of you might have heard of Professor Alexander. She's a leading light in this space, based at the University of Singapore, National Law School of Singapore, in fact. And so we have her, and she will appear obviously throughout this program in different areas. We've heard talking about how this works in practice and the interesting sort of interface between psychology and neuroscience and law. Of course, lest there be any doubt as to who's doing the work, we then have a quiz, which I'm going to have to fill out very quickly to show you how it works. So whether I get it right or not now is going to be a different matter. But you'll see, again, this is just a practice quiz. It's not a part of formal assessment. Bryan will talk about that shortly. It's really just to show you possibly what areas you may or may not be missing. Fortunately, having practiced it before, I managed to get 100% that time, so I don't have to do it again. But you can do that quiz as often as you wish to make sure that you've really grasped the concepts. And finally, then, just to finish out on this lesson, another option we have, and I wanted to show you this because this is, again, will form part of your sort of portfolio of resources and knowledge, if you like, is that you'll have screens as well where you'll be asked to actually type in different things, and that will be saved then for reference. So you might have strategies including, to talk, to withdraw, get my spelling right, to litigate, to avoid, or to engage, let's say. Obviously, we'd be looking for somewhat longer answers from you, but this is really just to show the functionality. And what happens then is that whatever you have written in will appear, and you can save this then. You can save it to your computer, or you can print it out and put it in your folder. And what will often happen is that you'll get little exercises like this, for example, to draft a clause, or to frame a response to a letter. You can then save them and print them, and then bring them to the live session where they'll be worked through in a little bit more detail. So that's just a tiny little short micro view into what the interactive learning looks like. And I will stop sharing my screen and pass back to Ale then, who will tell you a little bit more about the skills training.
I wasn't quite sure whether I was going to make this session, so here's something I pre-prepared earlier, which is a short video that just shows you some of the key features of the ways you'll be learning skills online. And I should add, actually, another important facet of the program is you will also be receiving, subject to successful assessment, a mediation certified skills certificate issued by the International Mediators Institute. So that will form part of your program as well, and there'll be more on that shortly. But let me just give you a quick demo. I will share my screen.
The question we often get asked is, how will I learn skills online? Our programs are specifically designed to maximize your acquisition of skills. And one feature of our learning design is the use of educational video. Now, we use video in a number of different ways, and designing effective and engaging educational video takes quite a lot of science and a little bit of Hollywood. We use case study simulations to enable you to experience a dispute as it unfolds through all the different stages. From the initial client and counsel meetings, to without prejudice negotiations, into the mediation itself, and right through to the agreement stage. You get to learn about the impact of the different stages of the process on all participants involved in the dispute. From the lawyers to their clients and the mediator, him or herself, through intimate video journals. You also get to see skills in action, not just once, but as many times as you want, so that when it comes to the live sessions, you get to practice them with your peers, and of course, get real-time insight and analysis from a range of leading international experts. Not to mention, of course, the all-important feedback and coaching that you'll receive from faculty. And that is just one way that you'll be learning skills online.
Hopefully that came through okay. So there's just an example of how you'll be following different disputes from start to finish, looking at all the different process decisions that participants will be making, but also we'll be focusing in with laser-like precision on certain skills, so that you can start modeling those skills, practicing then those skills with your other peers during the live sessions. And then the assessment will be scheduled, where you'll be playing the role of the mediator and participating in a role play assessment, running a full commercial mediation. And if you successfully complete that, then you'll be an IMI certified mediator at the end of that. So the program really comes with dual accreditation. You've obviously got your master's degree from Newcastle University and an IMI certified commercial mediation certificate. I think I'm going to hand back to Bryan. I've touched on some of the assessments, Bryan, but if you can say a little bit more and unmute your microphone.
Well, thanks, Aled. I'll just say a few things about assessment in the program. So there are a variety of assessments in the program, and so most classes, for example, build in a small element of credit for your participation on discussion boards. And this is to encourage you to engage and interact with your peers. There are no exams in the program. Some of you might be quite happy to hear that. But there are in some classes essays, research papers on topical themes, also reflective logs where students reflect on what they've learned, the challenges they've faced, the impact of their learning on career prospects, for example, links between theory and practice. You might write blog posts, do group presentations, and of course, as Aled was saying, there are skills-based assessments around mediation practice. In terms of applying for the program, you apply through the Newcastle University Law School pages, and I can send out some information about this to you later if you haven't already seen this. The deadline for application is normally the end of August. Although late applications can be taken, I think particularly because the program's online, there are no issues with granting visas, for example, that can hold things up. But ideally, you would apply before the end of August. And effectively, you fill out an application form, you submit your qualifications, you provide evidence of English language qualifications if that's relevant, and provide the names of references. And the university would normally deal with that application pretty quickly. And there are scholarships too, and some of you I know are aware of these scholarships. And again, we'll make sure that you get the link for the scholarship information. And these are a number of partial scholarships worth £3,000 that you can apply against fees. They're competitive, they're based on academic merit and quality of the application. But crucially, the deadline for these is earlier. It's July the 25th. For that. And effectively, you apply by simply emailing in a 500-word statement outlining motivation for the course and how you think it might enhance your career prospects. So I guess that's all that I want to say at this time. Thank you very much, all of you, for listening to this presentation from us here. And we're really happy to answer any questions you have. And I'll hand back to Aled, who will lead on this. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. We have a question in: is mediation common in international disputes?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll take that to begin with. I think it's something that's becoming more common, absolutely. We're seeing mediation being used more commonly in international commercial disputes, for example, in the realm of international investment disputes. And I think historically speaking, it probably wasn't that common, and by far more common a process was arbitration, which of course is still, used a great deal in that area. But mediation is definitely gaining traction, I think partly because of the continued difficulties with arbitration, its expense, complexity, the delays involved in that, and it's become, I think, worse over recent years. But equally because of the increased confidence in mediation as well, its increased professionalization, the more common usage of it within jurisdictions. And equally, we've got the Singapore Convention now as well, which is really a convention which I guess legitimizes the process in many ways by providing a way in which mediated outcomes, which are cross-border, can be enforced in a more seamless way. So yeah, it's becoming, I think the correct answer is saying it's becoming more common, absolutely, and will continue to do so.
One thing I would just add to that as well is actually, ironically, the pandemic has really increased the amount of international and cross-border disputes going to mediation, as online mediation has become the norm now that people can't travel to Singapore anymore, which is where a lot of those mediations took place. But for example, one of our faculty members who you will get to know well on this program is based in Auckland and has been busier than ever mediating multi-party, multinational cross-border disputes, all online. And of course, a lot of now supply chain disputes, disputes rising out of all these sort of international turmoil as a result of COVID are finding their way into mediation. So there's been a really big increase, uptick in growth now in the last 6 months. Next question: does an undergraduate have this opportunity next year, because probable year of graduation is 2023?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. I mean, obviously we were running the course for the first time in the year coming, but all being well, the course, of course, will run again in 2023. So yeah, you can absolutely apply at that stage when, when you begin your final year, and perhaps that might be a good time to apply for the course at that stage. And hopefully receive an offer from us at that point.
Thank you. Kelvin, I will unmute you. You have a question. Hold on a second. Oh, you've unmuted yourself. That's brilliant.
Thank you. Yep, can you hear me? I just have a quick question for those who do not have the legal background, since it's Master of Laws program, is there any things you could recommend, like someone like me who doesn't have a legal background to prepare myself for the program? Because I know there are many courses on mediation, but definitely the thesis or dissertation itself is in law, or at least a legal research. Is there anything we can read or reading list or any kind of like preparation mentally, psychologically, any things that we can do? Well, because obviously there will be lawyers like to be our classmates, and then obviously they have really good foundations in law. So yeah, is there any things that we can catch it up? Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, hi, I'll take this first of you.
Sure.
I mean, hi, Kevin, that's a really good question, actually, a really thoughtful question. At Newcastle, we do have quite a number of master's students who are non-law graduates. I think actually about 30%. So you're not in a, it's not a small minority, actually. It's about 30% actually. And I guess, certainly, offline, I'll be able to send you some information about preparation for studying law. The legal research class, those who teach it are aware of the fact that many students don't have a legal background. So you're given quite significant preparation in the study of law, how to use legal sources, the legal method, for example, how to research law in different ways. And so that there'll be some underpinning in that sense. I think in this course as well, although it's based in a law school, a master's in mediation can in fact, and often is, delivered in different faculties, actually. It's what you might call a rendezvous discipline. There are different disciplines which really engage with mediation. Law is one of those, but psychology, sociology, and business study, negotiation, conflict analysis. So it's not necessarily as a discipline rooted in law only. There are legal elements. So in the law class, for example, we'll be looking at the law as it applies to different aspects. But again, in your dissertation, you don't necessarily have to write a legal dissertation as such. There are many kind of social legal aspects or theoretical aspects in mediation that you might find quite interesting to look at, and that would be quite appropriate to do that. So I guess my answer is we're prepared for students who are not law students, and we recognize that and will help you prepare for study in different ways. But equally, you'll encounter a lot of content that's not necessarily designed for lawyers, if I can put it that way. So I hope that helps allay any concerns that you have, Kelvin, about that.
I would also say that not all the faculty are lawyers either. So a number of members of the faculty are non-lawyers too, and are coming at it from a different angle. So
just as we're wrapping up,
I have another question. Since this is a dispute resolution course, I know mediation is a big part of it, yeah. But do we touch on other aspects of dispute resolution like arbitration and litigation as well?
Yes, you do. Arbitration, litigation, conciliation, dispute systems design, online courts, online justice. Yeah, it's very much about seeing mediation in the context of the broader dispute resolution system. If that answers.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions we have? I'm very impressed with our timing so far. Nicely done.
Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, that's okay. We'll bring the session to a conclusion. In the chat box, I've posted a link which will take you directly to the applications page, where you can see in a bit more detail some of the modules that we're covering, the classes, sorry, as Bryan calls them, the curriculum, and also links to the application process. And I believe is the application for scholarships on there as well, Bryan?
Yes, you put it up. Yeah, or Bryan put it up.
Yeah, I posted a link for the scholarships application as well. So just remember that the deadline for that is earlier, so it's 25th of July. And so if you follow that link, you'll find information about what's needed and how to apply.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or concerns whatsoever, please email Bryan, Sabina, or myself at any time, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can with hopefully satisfactory responses.
Yeah.
Super.
Great. Thank you all for taking the time to come and chat to us. Very much hope to see you again soon, September at the latest. And yeah, have a good week.
Yeah, thank you very much all.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gavin.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.